Principal of the John Mack Elementary School, Ms. Brenda Grady. The school opened in 2005, brand new, and I'm very proud of the way they're still maintaining it. And Principal Grady has been the first and only principal, I'm happy to say, and she's provided outstanding leadership over the years, and she has a great staff, and we have just a wonderful student body, certainly reflective of the diversity of Los Angeles, and particularly this part of the city. And so we're just happy to be here and welcome all of you, and look forward to hearing from members of the public with the issues and concerns that are important to you and that we need to know about.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? I just have one, which was during this last week. I had the pleasure of attending a Citizen Police Advisory Board leadership meeting. It was a training session for those of the co-chairs of those groups, which have served so well to get information to us on the Commission of what's happening in the and also the extraordinary projects that the community has for the youth and for crime prevention. And it was an excellent meeting with lots of good ideas for carrying forward the work of that group. And with that, I'd like to turn to a report from the Chief of Police.
Excuse me, Madam President, we do have one comment card on this item. We have Mr. Ted Hayes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am taking heart that you're here. As you probably know, your being present here is the result of the former consent decree from the feds. But I believe now you're initiating these kind of community meetings on your own. They're few and far between. I understand there's been one prior to this one. But we certainly would like to see you here addressing the public more frequently. I don't know what prompted this. I don't know whether you feel you have to do some image polishing or something like that, but usually believe the police department doesn't do anything as a reaction unless there's been something out there. Unless there's been something out there to prompt it. But I'm pleased and I'm thankful that you're here, and I hope that the residents all over the city who've come out with us are also pleased to engage you, hear from you, and more importantly, talk to you.
And now a report from the Chief of Police.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and my welcome to the audience also. I wanted to also acknowledge Chief Steve Zipperman from LAUSD School Police. Steve, thanks for being here. And I wanted to thank the commissioners who were in attendance today at the swearing in of the new chief of the airport police, Pat Gannon. Of course, Pat and Steve are alumni of the Los Angeles Police Department, and I'm very, very, very pleased to work with them. On to my normal report on crime. This is as of the 20th of this month. Violent crime is down in the city of Los Angeles as a whole, 13%. Homicides are down 17%. Rapes are down 30%. Robberies are down 12%. Aggravated assaults down 13%. All the categories of property crime are also down, and the aggregate property crimes are down 7%. The number of shooting victims has decreased by 12%. This is for the first almost 4 months of the year. So these are a good start to what I hope is a very good year for the Los Angeles Police Department. Personnel strength, we are about 20 short of 10,000 sworn police officers. We have 500 civilian vacancies and just about 2,800 civilian personnel now on payroll. This week, I'll be presenting our budget to the City Council. That will be approved and allow us to maintain the personnel strength of the police department. That will be my goal. That concludes my comments.
Thank you very much. And I know we'll hear some more specific statistics and information when we hear from the commanding officers in the Southwest area and the Operations South Bureau. Report of the Executive Director.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Commission. Just a few brief items for the general public's information as to the role of the Office of the Board of Police Commissioners beyond the work that the Board of Police Commissioners do as the oversight for the Police Department. Also the staff, of which I am the person in charge as Executive Director. We provide all of the policy support to the Police Commission, interface with the members of the City Council, the Mayor's Office, the Chief Legislative Analyst, Chief Administrative Officer of the City, and also the Commission Investigation Division. A number of the officers that you see in the room tonight are staff from the Commission Investigation Division, of which Lieutenant Chris Waters is the commanding officer. And their role in Commission Investigation Division is varied. Their primary role is to be the entity that approves and issues the police permits, 53 different types of permits that we issue through the Board of Police Commissioners, and they are the enforcement arm of those permits. One of their critical areas that they do is to assist the Office of Finance in ensurance that all parking lots in the city are permitted, and we also enforce those that do not pay their parking occupancy tax. And just for the general public's information, parking occupancy tax is 10% of every dollar you pay when you park your car is a tax that goes to the City of Los Angeles. That revenue is approximately $90 million a year. It's a significant revenue source to the city. So our folks in Commission Investigation Division do that level of work. We also are the oversight and contract administrator on behalf of the Board of Police Commissioners for the 18 official police garage contracts. We manage those contracts on behalf of the board and the city. A variety of other areas that we also have within my office. We issue all special event permits for all First Amendment activities that occur in the city, all noise variance activities that occur. So we have a variety of functions that take place within our office that we administer on behalf of the Board of Police Commissioners as our duties are laid out in the city charter. So that concludes my report, ma'am.
And usually at most of our meetings we list the individual special event permits that we have, and though we're not doing it in this meeting, perhaps Mr. Tiefenk, you could tell us what we expect on May 1st.
Tomorrow there will be First Amendment marches related to immigrant rights. Primarily they're downtown. I believe there's one that goes from 7th to Broadway, north on Broadway, to 2nd or 3rd Street, as I recall. There's another one that starts at Olympic and Broadway, and a third one that I believe is on Hill Street, but I'm not certain about that. But they primarily are going to be from 10 in the morning till 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Downtown, the core of the city will have a number of traffic restrictions for those First Amendment marches that take place tomorrow.
Thank you. The report now of the Inspector General.
Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. Last Tuesday, I informed the Commission that we would be conducting a meeting with some of the stakeholders in Operation South Bureau. Last Thursday, we did in fact have that meeting at Bourbon Day High School. There are about 25 stakeholders in the community. I'm happy to report that the format, which was just the Inspector General's office and the community members, was, I think, very conducive to a very candid and honest conversation, and was quite surprised that some of the stakeholders, some of the community advocates were completely unaware of the Inspector General's position at all, let alone what the role was, and there was even this oversight of the Los Angeles Police Department. So I thought that was at least informative for them, and so much so that many of them wanted me to come to other groups and meet with them and kind of educate them on the oversight process within the Los Angeles Police Department and my role as to the commissioners. As the commissioners know, I briefly alluded that the next meeting will be in a different part of Operation South Bureau. Will be in Spanish, and that'll be in about 3 weeks. And that concludes my report.
You know, Madam President, it may be helpful, Inspector General, to summarize your role, because it may be informative for some of the members of the community who are here this evening, who may not.
Sure, Commissioner. The Inspector General's office is essentially the eyes and ears of the Police Commission. The way the Inspector General's office is set up, So we are we're an entity. We have 35 employees, and our job is to review, monitor, and audit the department's operations, look at serious uses of force, audit their everyday processes, and also monitor complaints, investigations from the community as well as from within the department. What's unique about my office is that we report only to the 5 members of the Police Commission. We have no reporting requirement at all to the Los Angeles Police Department. So that means I take my direction from the police commissioners, and I will also initiate investigations on my own, and that the only people that are able to actually stop or control my investigation will be the commissioners themselves. So that gives the Inspector General's office a rather robust role in the oversight of the Los Angeles Police Department. Also part of the charter amendments that give me the power, give my office the power, allow me access to any document within the department, and allow me to look at any process and anything that goes in the department and talk to any officer when I want to conduct an investigation or review the processes. And then my reports and investigations will generally be in open session in a format that the public can view, and that a report that will be posted online. And then I will also help the Commission in analyzing some of the issues regarding the serious uses of force, which will occur in closed session.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Excuse me, Madam President, we have one card on this item.
Thank you.
We have Mr. Ted Hayes.
As I said, this is your opportunity to speak to the Police Commission. Mr. Inspector General, as you no doubt know, I've been complaining about the lack of the posting of Penal Code Section 851.5. I wonder whether you had, on your own initiative or by direction of the Police Commission, an opportunity to investigate these postings being properly posted at any place that you can be arrested and booked within the LAPD. So that's an inquiry I'm making, because I am the one who is arrested, goes to jail, and find out it's not posted. Now, I don't want to make the rounds of going to all the jails, because it seems I have to be put in handcuffs to get there. That's not my favorite position to be in. But I believe, having said what I've said, someone has the responsibility to see to it that the commander of the jail system does his lawful duty. Understand the bottom line on 851.5 is any officer who fails to perform these duties is guilty of a misdemeanor, which is a crime. So I'm making that inquiry. I hope you can answer me at this point.
I will, if you're going to be around after the meeting, I'd be more than happy to sit and talk with you and get some more information, and then we can discuss where you go forward with this.
Thank you. And now it is time for the report from the commanding officers of Southwest Area and Operation South Bureau.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Snell. I'm the commanding officer of Southwest Division. And first of all, thank you all for being here. Commissioners, Madam President, thank you all for allowing us to host this event and allow the opportunity for the Southwest community to come out and see actually what the process is about. A lot of times they don't get the opportunity to go downtown to see this. So thank you very much for coming out. And it's really an honor for it to be at the John Mack Elementary School. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm the commanding officer of Southwest Division. My partner, Kathy Meekin, was unable to be with us today. She's currently on vacation, but we are the ones that service this area within the Southwest area. For those of you that don't know me, I've been here for about 6 months now, but for a while back, I started my career here in 1985. This was the first division I worked in 1985. I was a P1, a police officer 1, a brand new, fresh off the boat recruit, and I worked here, and still I value this community. A lot of the things that we're going to try to accomplish, I can talk about at another point. But more importantly, what I'd like to do is go over some crime statistics first, and then what I'd like to do is bring up one of my partners. It's my CPAP co-chair, and I think Marcy is here also. I have 2 co-chairs that actually participate with me to try to help work on some of the problems, some of the issues within your communities, and to help solve the crimes and the issues that impact you on a day-to-day basis. So I don't want to monopolize this. I would like to involve my partners in this to show you not only do we appreciate the fact that the community is going to be an active part of participating in crime control, they are in fact an active part in crime control, and I'll let again Johnny and or Marcy talk about that. Real briefly, just to go over real quickly with you with regard to crime in the Southwest proper, Southwest area, and comparing it, I'll do a year-to-date comparison and looking at the numbers for 2012 versus 2013. As we look at homicides, and although we have 8 homicides year-to-date in Southwest area, 3 of those were from prior years. And so the way they classify some of the statistics is if a suspect is injured but doesn't die until 2 or 3 years later, it's credited in the year that they actually passed. So actually we're 1 below the number of homicides that we've had year-to-date. For rapes, we're down 13%. For robberies, we're down 4%. The one problem we're having a problem right now is actually aggravated assault. Aggravated assault, we're up 27%. That's 166 compared to 2011 year-to-date. A lot of those numbers, fortunately for us, are not coming from gang violence. As many of you know, we have CLEAR, we have Safer Cities, we have our gang details, we have our narcotic details. I have nearly 400 officers that work for me in Southwest and do a very good job at curtailing those types of crimes. So most of the crime problems are not gang related. There are a lot of domestic disputes, those type of things involving strangers and those type of things, but not necessarily gang related violence. I'm very comfortable in saying that we have a pretty good handle on gang violence, aside from the fact that we have nearly over 20 gangs in Southwest area. So with the 20 gangs, we're doing a very good job, and I say we, meaning my officers, the men and women that work for me, and including my civilians that help out in other capacities, are doing a very good job with suppressing that. With regard to burglaries, we have a 1% reduction compared to last year, so that's something that we're still working very hard on. Also, one of the things that's very important to us and that I actually had in my prior command that we're working on currently in Southwest and throughout the South Bureau has to do with burglary theft from motor vehicles, which is a significant problem for us. Some of the things that we're doing right now is we're partnering with churches. My SLOs come in on Sundays and they go to churches and they talk about how you can best protect your own property and those type of things. We also have a Lock It, Hide It, Keep It campaign, and I think some of you, hopefully many of you already know what that is. But essentially that means that if you can lock your merchandise up, hide it so that it's not in plain view, you will ultimately keep your property and not be the victim of crime. Those type of messages we're trying to get out to the community to, again, partner with you so that we can help, you can help us reduce crime and vice versa. What I'd like to do now is bring up Johnny Raines, and he can talk about, he's my CPAP co-chair, Community Police Advisory Board co-chair, and he can talk about some of the things that he's working with us on in terms of moving forward, and again, increasing the partnerships with the community in terms of trying to do a better job in terms of policing not only Southwest, but overall throughout the city.
Good evening. First, I would be remiss if I see some of my CPAB board members out there. So would you guys just stand up real quick so everybody can see who you are? Okay, And as far as the partnership, I just have to give some examples. There's just so many things that are different in the community now with having a CPAB organization. With today's incident on Vermont, I was able to call the captain. He called me back and told me what was going on. I had gotten, by the time I called him, I had probably gotten about 12 phone calls from different parts of the community asking me what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. It's just comforting to know that I can call the captain. I also called one of the senior lead officers, Officer Sasajima. They both called me back. They told me exactly what was going on. I was able to disseminate that information to the community, and everybody understood what it was before all the rumor mills got started. So it's just those kind of things that are almost some kind of daily occurrence. You know, we're working heavily on block clubs. We've had some meetings, and we had a meeting and a partnership with the Urban League about 3 weeks ago where we had 93 community members show up on a Thursday night at Crenshaw High to talk about block clubs and the importance of block clubs. We're in the process of putting together some training to get those block clubs up and going. A couple of weeks before that, we got some information from the training area that I believe that the chief had decided that he wanted neighborhood councils to receive all the neighborhood councils to receive some sort of information information and training with regard to use of force policy. So we were able to sit down with the trainer, myself, and 4 other members from other neighborhood councils and kind of preview and tweak to make sure that that training, when it goes out to the neighborhood councils and to the community, that it's well received. That kind of partnerships, those kinds of things are what's making the community policing work. I could go on. Well, one last thing, and I got to take just a little bit of credit for it. I was at a community meeting maybe 2 months ago, shortly after the Christopher Donner activity. Several of the community members in the audience said, sure, it'll go to the police commission, but the police commission is just made up out of a lot of retired police officers, and they're just going to rubber stamp everything. And I tried to explain to him, no, that's not what the police commission does. About 2 weeks after that, I ran into Mr. Mack, and I told him that. I said, you know, the community really doesn't know what the police commission does. It'd be a good idea if the police commission had some community meetings and invited the community in to have dialogue and find out what they do. And all I can say is they're here. So myself, on behalf of my CPAB, we're going to take a little bit of credit for them being here. Thank you.
Okay, and again, thank you all for coming out. Also, we have a number of programs at Southwest. We have over 10 youth programs. We want to get our youth involved. I am very supportive of our youth programs, and I really encourage you, if you have friends or family that would like to get their kids involved in some type of youth program, please reach out to the Southwest Division of the LAPD for that purpose. Also, as of right now, I think I'd like to introduce my boss. And we have a really great team here in terms of Commander Scott and Chief Green out of Operation South Bureau. They do a tremendous job in terms of their leadership, but overall they keep us honest. And as you know, when you guys are victimized, whether it's a burglary, theft, or motor vehicle, a theft, and the partners that we deal with, when you're victimized, I feel it. Because if I don't, I'm going to be in CompStat sitting there and explaining why. So bottom line is, I feel it, and I want to do what I can to help support you in your communities. That's not only with respect to the day-to-day operations of law enforcement, but again, those partnerships that I talked about earlier, the many partnerships that we're continually trying to build within your community. And for that, thank you very much for the support, Johnny, and for all of you that support the Los Angeles Police Department, but more importantly, the Southwest family. Thank you very much for supporting Southwest. Chief Green?
Good evening, Commissioner Warden, Commissioners, Chief, Mr. Bustamante, and community. Thanks for being here. I'd like Bill Scott, come on up, we would. And clearly, Paul, I'm not doing a good enough job, because if you don't feel pressure before you get to CompStat, we're not squeezing you hard enough. Overwhelming in South Bureau, we're very happy the direction we're going again this year. We've got a good reduction coming in violent crime and homicides across the board. The area that I'm going to ask everybody's help in and ask you to save Captain Snell's career is property crime. When we look at where we struggle, it's really things that you can help us with. You know, as we continue for 10 years now, we've pushed crime down. And we pushed it down to levels that we haven't seen in a decade. But when it comes to people breaking into your houses and stealing your cars and breaking into cars and stealing property, Paul talked about that Hide It, Lock It, Keep It campaign. And not only do I need to engage everybody in the room, but all your neighbors in helping us with that work at pushing those numbers further and further down. Because a lot of the crime that we have in Southwest and within South Bureau is opportunist. And so leaving your radio on when you're not at home, leaving that TV on, making sure everything's hidden, we'd appreciate, because it'll help us continue to push crime down in your neighborhoods and make them safer, improve the quality of life. So anything you do to help us with that, I'd appreciate it. Then as summer rolls around, the Summer Night Lights program in our area parks, statistically they prove to save kids' lives and reduce violence. And I've also asked all of my churches and CPAPs to go out, and any time on a Friday or Saturday night, we could get a group of kids into a gymnasium or a church to play basketball, to watch a movie. Every single event like that helps us prevent violence and save kids' lives. So the last thing I'll talk about is our partnerships. Because in the room, not only do we have Steve Zipperman, the chief of the school police, but I've got John Thomas, the chief of the Department of Public Safety for USC, tremendous partners that help not only with their campuses, but the areas around their campus in this partnership with us. And finally, I'm going to talk about gang intervention for a minute. Because gang intervention is the one thing that the last 7-8 years has helped us continue to reduce violent crime and homicides in South Carolina. They do a tremendous work. They're folks that are from the community predominantly, that have tremendous influence in this community, that can go out and stop a retaliation shooting or go into a neighborhood and settle kids down when they're angry. And they've done a tremendous amount of work helping us calm those retaliation shootings and stop the next one. And so as you hear more and more about intervention, and the chief has been very vocal about them, I'm very, very vocal. Every place I go to give them the recognition for what they've helped us do. The LAPD, you know, with this whole accountability piece for CompStat, we look at everything. But we are only as successful in our neighborhoods as our partnerships are. And so every one of those block clubs, every one of those meetings, every one of those people that's on the internet pushing crime stats out and crime information help us continue to make this neighborhood safer. We can't do it by ourselves. And so I'll continue to ask everywhere I go for your help and your engagement. For those folks that are already doing it, thank you very much. Every bit of work you do, we really, really appreciate. And thanks, Steve and John Thomas, for your partnership. We appreciate it. At this point, I'll see if my partner's got anything to say, but thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Good evening, Police Commissioners, Chief Beck, Mr. Bustamante. You know, when I look around the room, and Chief Green touched on it, you guys can hear me in the back there. Chief Green touched on it. It's amazing to see. I see people from the Valley. I see people from the South Bureau. I see people from all over the city. And it's very, very encouraging to know, despite what we're up against in terms of our budget difficulties with the city, the challenges of continually reducing crime, I don't think we can lose with a team like we have in this room. I mean, it's really encouraging for me as a professional to be able to look in a room like this and see so many familiar faces that I've worked with, many of you, and we're all in this together. So, not to repeat what the chief has said, but really it's a pleasure to work with each and every one of you, and as we continue to try to drive crime down in this city, as a team, I'm very confident and proud to be associated with you guys, and I know we can continue to do what we've been doing for the last 8-9 years. So thank you guys for working with us, and for those of you that are in South Bureau, I'm looking forward to working with you. For those of you from the Valley or whatnot, I missed you guys out there, but we're one city, so it's really encouraging to see that. So thank you very much.
Before I turn this back over to the commissioners, I'd like to acknowledge my clergy council that's also in the audience, Reverend Clark and Deacon Scott. Thank you for coming as well. And also, if we can, just say a prayer for Reverend Cecil Murray. As many of you may know, he lost his wife of, I think they were married over 50 years. The funeral is this Friday at 10 o'clock at AME. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to add my thanks to all of the thanks to the volunteers that are here. The 5 of us as commissioners are also volunteers. We put in between 15 and 25 hours a week. Having meetings like this, public meetings, but more importantly, or as importantly, the smaller meetings within the community, meetings at the area and bureau offices of the department, working on determining whether officer-involved shootings are within policy, working on policy and in partnering with not only the leadership of the department, but partnering with the community. And as I said in the beginning, the meetings that I have been having and we have been having with the CPABs, the Community Police Advisory Boards, have been just terrific. I mean, the amount of energy that we see in the volunteers to be helping the police department is really quite remarkable. And so we join you as volunteers as well, and we too are civilians. I think we have some public comments.
We have one. We have Mr. Ted Hayes.
Leimert Park, located at Vernon Central. We are all Trevon. There was a rally there. About 150 people, interested people, activists, maybe even some radicals. And there was a captain in the midst of all this with just one sergeant. Now, I say that because I was alarmed to see him present. I think not only did I know he was a police officer and a high-ranking one, with one sergeant, but everyone else did also. Now, I was alarmed because I've been around a few incidents, and sometimes the police presence excites people, disturbs people, angers people even, but there he was in the midst of all this. And I went up and I complimented him on his presence. I've never seen that kind of a merging with that element of the population under those circumstances ever in my life. So that's why I was a little bit astonished. So I think you have a brave captain. Not that there were any incidents until the people who were there began to have a disturbance among themselves. And that's when the captain had to call for backup. Not a show of force, no helmets, batons, anything like that, but to maintain the peace. So that was all that took place at Lindbergh Park on that day. Now, I might also point out that under the auspices of Najee Ali came Garcetti. And he spoke to the crowd, indicating what our concerns were and that sort of thing. So maybe he got a few votes out of that. I don't know.
Thank you. It is now time for a report from the Chief of the Department of Public Safety, University of Southern California, to talk more about our partnership.
Chief.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. And again, it is an honor to be at the John Mack Elementary School. This is such a fitting tribute to someone who has been so instrumental to not only this community, but across the city. Again, for those that don't know who I am John Thomas. I am the recently appointed, as of 3 months ago, Chief of the Department of Public Safety at University of Southern California. A little bit about my background. I am a LAPD alum. I retired about 7 years ago. But most importantly is I'm a member of this community. And one of the things I am very pleased to be a part of is the interaction that University of Southern California has had and continues to have, and to invest in the surrounding community. USC and the President Nikias, has made it a priority of the university from day one of his administration to not only engage and do things that are beneficial to the students and faculty and staff of the University of Southern California, but to also invest in the surrounding communities. One of my primary priorities as chief is to engage our student population to a greater degree into becoming more engaged and a part of the communities in which they live in. The reality is that USC students will and have been and will continue to be a part of this community. My goal is to get our students to become more engaged and more part and more instrumental into the improvements, enhancements, not only in safety from the realm of safety, public safety, but also in the investment in their time, their energy, and their efforts and their volunteerism into the surrounding community. If our students are going to be a part of the University of Southern California and live in this community, I don't think that there is a greater investment in their time than to invest into the neighborhoods in which they live. To get to know you, the community members that have lived in this community long term, and enhance not only from the perspective of safety, but becoming a true partner in those communities surrounding USC. Again, thank you for the opportunity. We do have a very robust and very good working relationship with LAPD, LA Unified School District, through the partner of Family of Schools, the schools surrounding USC. But more importantly, my goal as chief is to engage our students and to engage you as members of the community. So don't be surprised when you see me at more of these meetings, at more of the local and neighborhood block functions surrounding USC, because again, it is a partnership, and the partnership is not just about, and I will tell you definitively that the president of the university has one of his main priorities to invest into the surrounding community and to be a part of the surrounding communities around USC. I also have invited Craig Keys from the President's Office, from the Office of Civic Engagement for the university, to also speak a little bit more about the President's priority as it pertains to the surrounding community. Craig?
Chief Beck, commissioners, and community members. It's my pleasure to be here. I have the privilege of heading up the university's Civic Engagement Office. It is my responsibility to identify opportunities and implement opportunities to bring the university's resources to bear on issues in the community. And I've had the opportunity to work with Chief Thomas and through our local schools to implement a number of programs, some of which you'd be very familiar with because they've been active for many, many years, but others that are new initiatives that we're bringing forward to enhance safety, not just around the campus, but in the surrounding community. So we are partnering through, we're having dialogue with the block clubs, with the neighborhood councils, through our family of schools and other community partners to identify issues in the community and to apply resources, time, volunteers in terms of faculty members, students, staff members, to make the community safer for all of us. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of our most recent efforts. We've been working with block clubs, particularly in the Bud Long area, to address issues of safety that are created from maintenance issues, particularly around freeways, and working with Caltrans and trying to eliminate areas that can be havens for illegal activity or to make conditions unsafe. We also, as you know, are very active in terms of assisting children getting to and from our programs and to and from school with our Kid Watch program. And we are also working with community members to help make parks safer in the area. We have a parents initiative that we're working on right now that will empower them to have greater monitoring at our parks, greater response time by DPS and LAPD. And we're just very enthused with the potential that we see in working even closer than we already are with LAPD in the community and with our DPS department to deliver those things. So please consider me a resource, and we really do welcome your ideas. We're looking for innovative ideas and people with energy and commitment to work with us on these issues. So with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Is there public comment?
We have Mr. Ted Hayes.
Some time ago, I used to live about 4 blocks away from here. It was so long ago in time, the university had no walls or fences around it. And the president said we will always be open. Now there are walls and fences, and each pillar has the name of a donor who put the wall and the fence up. Now, that was before the Chinese nationals were shot to death on Vermont. And then we found out from the LA Times there are 4,000 Chinese nationals attending that school. So I'm very pleased that the school is staying. They like to have a community outreach. I'm certainly going to be there to find out to what extent and what level it goes to, because it would be very interesting to find out what this university can do for the neighborhood. And I would tell you that the walls went up when they found out the neighborhood was dangerous. And Vermont's still dangerous, apparently, and I don't know what kind of cooperation the LAPD is providing to engage people on Vermont who might pose a danger. But I am pleased because I've been monitoring the university for quite some time, and I am pleased to hear, at least, that they're going to do things to make an outreach. And I'm certainly going to be pleased to investigate and find out whether indeed it's just talk or really some active engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's now time for our general public comment period. There are many of you who have appeared before us before and know what the rules are. It is an unusual kind of a procedure because each person is entitled to up to 2 minutes to speak, but because it's not on the agenda, we cannot directly engage and answer questions from here. But that doesn't mean we're not listening, writing down notes, and after the meeting on some of these, if it's, we will be able to have you meet with someone who can talk with more details about your inquiries or your questions. But it is your time now to address us and give us your concerns, but it only is the beginning of the conversation, not the end. And with that, I'll turn to Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Madam President. The first 5 are Michael Novick, Bilal Ali, Joe Thomas, James Porter, and Azim Mohammed.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joe Thomas. As you know me. I'm a member of the LA CAM, Los Angeles Community Action Network. And today, the reason why I'm here, because of this so-called town hall meeting, is the fact that I put aside anything I had to do this evening to make effort to come over here, because my problem is not with this 77 division or anything like that. But time and time again, we have asked, can we have a meeting downtown? Can we have a meeting, AKA Skid Row? And it seems to me that you meet all over the place, but you don't come down here and speak at Skid Row, where Central Division is, where it is so problematic down there. The businesses, your colleagues, LAPD, everything down there, and you know what our problems are. You know about the harassment, you know about the ticketing, you know about the poor people being pushed to the side, and you know about your faithful attitude about being homeless is a crime. We need to sit down and we need to get this straight. You know, the people downtown now, we are very sick and tired of this, and we are demanding that you give us a meeting, not 10 days, not 3 days, but within the next 4 days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Novick, Bilal Ali.
Yes, my colleague Joe, he wasn't informed that we understand that you have agreed to meet and have a town hall downtown. All these glowing accolades are making me dizzy. Right now, the Safer City Initiative downtown continues to criminalize poor people and homeless people. It continues to target people for normal behavior, people standing on the sidewalk because they have nowhere else to stand and are charged, ticketed, or even arrested for loitering. These human rights violations continue to go. I'd like to let this audience know what goes on downtown with the downtown residents because of the Safer City Initiative. We will not stop coming here. We will not stop demanding that you change the policies. You're up for a budget. We don't need no more money for the LAPD. You're already getting 55% of the general funds. And we need housing, we need jobs downtown, we need affordable housing downtown. We do not need any more money going into the LAPD budget, a budget that will continue to make it good, to make it possible for the LAPD to continue to harass and criminalize poor and homeless people down there. And this thing about talking to John Mack about having a community meeting, we shouldn't have to have private conversations with John Mack about this. You should be having community meetings all the time. Having police commission meetings downtown at 9:30 in the morning is anti-working people's hours. People are working, the traffic is horrendous, the parking fees are sky high. So we're asking you not to make this the last meeting. We want to continue for you to have commissioner meetings. And on top of that, this is a rubber stamp board, and our campaign, the Community Coalition for Self-Defense in Our Communities, we're demanding an independent, elected civilian control board of the citizens of Los Angeles with the power to hire, fire, charge, and suspend offending officers, and no more of this rubber stamp mayor-appointed board. Thank you.
James Porter. Azim Muhammad.
Yes, good evening. My name is Azim Muhammad. I'm with LA CAN. I guess we just heard that crime is down 13%, and I'm wondering, as Bilal also mentioned, why is Safer Cities Initiative, why is there a need for all the additional officers on Skid Row? And why is the police department trying to get around the court order saying that homeless people have a right to their belongings and they continue to take people's property? Can the police stop harassing and ticketing people for what you call quality of life issues? How about homeless rights? Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next four speakers are General Dogan, Deborah Burton, Esteban Gil, and Lydia Trejo.
My name is Deborah Burton. I'm a downtown resident. I'm also an organizer with the Los Angeles Community Action Network. I'm here to ask the council, the commissioners, why is it takes 10 officers to give one individual, a female individual, a jaywalking ticket? Why is it takes 10 officers to intimidate an individual who is doing nothing illegal but being homeless? It is not a crime to be homeless. It's not a crime to be of low income. It is not a crime to be a person of color. We need this meeting. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
General Dogan, Esteban Gil.
Hi, my name is Esteban Gil. I'm with the campaign to stop Special Order 1 and LAPD spying. Policies like Special Order 1, iWatch, and all these myriad of supposed counterterrorism activities conducted by your department and also the federal government is essentially the legalization of police surveillance on innocuous and innocent citizen activities such as taking pictures, inquiring about office buildings, holding meetings, taking notes. Billions are spent on these failed policies, and yet they don't keep us safe, as we learned a couple of weeks ago. On top of that, we have 2 wars that they started over it, and it's not doing anything to keep us safe. The fundamental premise behind it is the idea of data mining and data collection. The idea being we collect enough data, we can find patterns and prevent crime. The problem is, as a National Research Council study shows, there's no scientific basis to that. That's a great idea for selling hamburgers and iPads, but it's not great for preventing crime because it reinforces individual unconscious and conscious biases, which of course create mass systems of incarceration and control, which is today the new Jim Crow. Fact of the matter is that what we're seeing today, if we want to really analyze the situation, we want to really keep our community safe, we have to analyze what terrorism is. Terrorism is not just innocent civilians being blown up by an extremist who's pathologized by a pathological society. Terrorism is 30% of black males being ineligible to serve on a jury. Terrorism is earning $600 a month and having kids to feed. One day, the United States will have a government worthy of the dignity of its people. But right now, we have to stand up and fight these policies, and we can win, and we can dismantle policies like Special Order 1.
Lydia Trejo.
Hello, my name is Lydia Trejo. I'm from LA CAN. and I'm here to talk about the downtown LA, and I'm talking about this Skid Row. We're talking about the people that are homeless. What we're talking about, the reason why I'm talking about it is because the restaurants come down to homeless and they take their stuff, and they shouldn't be taking it at all because they have a place to live. And it's against the law, and it's a law from the courts that I know about. I can't say the word, but it's a word to it. And the only thing I'm talking about, too, is like the police officers, they stop the people and they ask their names, and they ask if they're in parole. I think that's not right. And then plus, they've been giving too many tickets. And half of the people that live downtown in Skid Row and in Skid Row and downtown LA, they cannot afford to pay the tickets. But you still give them to them. I don't think it's right. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is General Doga. I'm going to make this real short. I'm a civil rights organizer on Skid Row, and I'm here to talk about the criminalization of other community residents that's happening this very moment under the Safer Cities Initiative. You talked about, Chief, about how crime is down around the city, but what about use of force by officers on citizens? I think that's still up, because just the other day I seen an officer body slam a woman right there on Main Street, and other officers are coming doing the same thing, jumping on women. I see it going on a daily basis in my community. And the problem is, we're in this room right now having a town meeting. I see the commissioners here. I see a lot of the brass and stuff like that is in here. But what I don't see is the cops that's out there in the block that's doing this crashing and bashing in these meetings. They don't listen. They don't get the message of what's going on and what's coming out of these meetings, because when I be asking them, on the block, hey, man, did you get the memo? Did you find out you're not supposed to be doing this no more? Oh, no, we never heard about that. Turn around, put your hands against the wall. It's never trickled down to them. So the real, correction ain't going to start happening until you have these guys that's out there that's shooting women in the back, that's out there beating up people in these meetings, talking to folks. We need to be able to confront these cats. So you need to get the whole department in here instead of just the brass, because it's not being trickled down to the people on the block.
The next 5 speakers are Daniel Jones, Wesley Walker, Pete White, Jamie Garcia, and Hamid Khan.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Jones. Is this where I sign up to be a terrorist liaison officer? What are you going to do, just make the whole, well, there goes the neighborhood. That's what the Nazis did. They used their children to scare the adults. Chief, the war on drugs. I stood down in Long Beach Harbor with the U.S. Customs people watching the ship from the country, the captain's name, the birth time when it arrived in Los Angeles, and you hear on TV, after a year of investigation, we got this much dope, we got this many people, and we got $12. For the year that they spent the investigation from the U.S. Customs Service and the federal government, in the last 15 years, we've lost 10 trauma centers in this county. How many booking numbers over the last 30 years of the war of drugs that you helped? I know the definition of the word black market. Does anybody know the politically incorrect name for Skid Row back when it had one alley? Privately contracted detention centers? For what? Less infrastructure, less hospitals, more police, and the hypocrisy of the war on drugs has torn this community, this country, apart. You're getting around to the message of that. The war on terror is nothing more than booking numbers. The capitulation of the subprime mortgage has led to the overpopulation of the workforce, making everything else in this country illegal.
Wesley Walker.
How you doing today? My name is Wesley Walker, and I'm with LA CAN, and I would like to talk about SO1 for a moment here. The National Forum on Criminal Justice and Public Safety indicate that from 2008-2009, 126 suspicious activity reports were referred to a local JTTF. And the LAPD initiated over 4,000 and fed over 3,000 of these SOARs into the fusion centers. I would like to know what you're doing with it, because according to this, most of these proved to be useless. So why are you keeping them? Why are you keeping them over 5 years? That's mad. We deserve to know whether or not we're being spied on. And we deserve to know that if you're keeping information on us, private citizens, we need to know that too. Because all of those SOARs that you find to be useless, you still keep them. And I think that's wrong. That's an invasion of our privacy. Knock it off. That's garbage in and garbage out. Thank you.
Pete White.
So I heard that the LAPD was having budget difficulties when I was sitting there. But the reality is that the LAPD represents 55% of the general fund dollars. We're talking about $2 billion plus annually. LACAN is really interested in reframing this debate around public safety. Public safety can no longer simply mean more police on the streets, more jail cells. It has to mean more services. It cannot be a proposition of police versus libraries, police versus school books. We say no to that. I'm here once again, like our colleagues. It was interesting for me to hear. I grew up in Southwest. And I recall the Dalton Street raid, which also, and I'm sure my man who's been here since '85 was probably a part of that, and understand the gross amount of payout that went to community residents who were falsely accused. SEI in Southwest, SEI in downtown since 2006. Too many resources for very little bang for your buck, but for a whole lot of misery for communities of color, particularly African American communities. I would also like to say we've been before you to talk about the case of human rights defender Deborah Burton, who was just at this podium, a 61-year-old grandmother who went to Geneva, Switzerland, and helped bring an envoy of the United Nations back here to decry the Safer Cities Initiative from the Committee to End Racial Discrimination, as well as the Committee on Housing. Deborah has been targeted by this department, and we have come before you and we have asked you to look into it. I'm asking folks in this audience who believes this department should look into the case of Deborah Burton to stand up now. We're saying do not target those who are looking for justice in our communities. Justice for Deborah Burton. Thank you.
Jamie Garcia.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm a registered nurse in Boyle Heights. I'm pretty much taking this opportunity to be able to speak to the community because as a member of Stop LAPD Spying, we've spoken to you several times and you seem to still do nothing about it. If any of the cadets have not received a pamphlet yet, look for anybody with a shirt like this so that you can become more educated on what Special Order 1 is. Special Order 1, IWatch, suspicious activity reporting are ultimately flawed policies wasting community resources. Suspicious activity reporting is based on two principles that are ultimately increase the occurrence of racial profiling and further the erosion of our rights to privacy and unwarranted searches. Policies like Special Order 1 open the door for racial profiling due to the use of preemptive policing. Preemptive policing is surveillance and seizure of an individual before a crime is committed. It bases its enforcement on unconscious and conscious bias of civilians and officers. This is obviously not an effective tactic for LAPD, who has a long history of racial profiling and discrimination. Secondly, the collection of suspicious activity reports in fusion centers is cumbersome and ineffective. This is data mining, which assumes that you can identify trends in people's behavior. This frequently provides false leads further victimizing and falsely detaining and incarcerating primarily brown and black people. There is no excuse for the federal government to spend $1.4 billion on such flawed policies. I'm a nurse, and I'm completely disgusted by that amount of money. In light of the national security discussions, it's important that we are honest about what actually keeps the community safe. Pouring more dollars into ineffective policies is irresponsible and deems that you are incompetent. Rescind Special Order 1.
Hamid Khan.
Good afternoon. My name is Hamid Khan with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. I want to draw everyone's attention to LAPD's surveillance and spying and intelligence gathering policies. And if Boston is any indication with the information that what we have, what it shows is that after spending hundreds and billions of dollars on the expansion of police surveillance apparatus, it has been an abject failure of public policy and waste of economic resources. Since March of 2008, Los Angeles Police Department, pursuant to Special Order 11, then Special Order 1, and the iWatch program, has opened hundreds of files on innocent and non-criminal behavior. As per our Public Records Act request, the documentation that we have gotten from LAPD has opened in a period of 4 years from March 2008 till April 2012, 4,968 secret files on people on the behavior that is completely innocent. And the question is, what kind of behavior is that? It's taking pictures in public, using a video camera in public, walking into an office asking about hours of operation, drawing diagrams, and taking notes. So now we have to ask that, such innocent activity and many more like this is considered, and I quote as per LAPD, pre-operational planning. But it doesn't stop there. Our information is then transmitted to fusion centers, which are a hub of information gathering from where our personal and private information is shared with thousands of government agencies, including private contractors. So what did we get in return, you ask? And we just saw what happened in Boston. A U.S. Senate report in October 2012 released a scathing report on fusion centers and said that their intelligence gathering, like the one supplied by LAPD, is useless, irrelevant, flawed, duplicative, has nothing of value, and on and on and on. When the LAPD Deputy Chief Mike Downing was asked about the Senate report, all he had to say to LA Times was that there's a lot of white noise and an occasional gold nugget. But none of these gold nuggets has resulted in any of those convictions. So in essence, it's been garbage in, garbage out. We demand that LAPD rescind Special Order 1 and terminate the iWatch program. Thank you.
The next 5 speakers are Tut Hayes, Bea DeSoto, Kai Sumi, Gina Fields, and Grace Alvarez.
The Pew Agency conducted a survey, a poll, and they asked the question of American people, who do you fear most, terrorists or the government? The answer was the government. And you would probably say, if you got nothing to fear, what are you concerned about being spied upon for? Well, that's not the way the founders of the Constitution saw it. Now, understand, the same people who told us that corporations were people and money was speech was the same ones who said there's privacy in the Constitution. It's not there. But anyway, it's a concern that the people have. I saw some material outside, but I didn't see my group on it. That was a group that was infiltrated by LAPD officers, a female, very attractive, incidentally. Won the admiration and wooing a lot of people within the organization. And that finally broke open. At that time, the result of that case was that every officer, when you questioned him and asked him undercover, lying on the sidewalk as homeless, are you a cop? The obligation was to tell you the truth. Now, cops tell the truth, don't they? Anyway, I don't know whether that still exists now. Whether an undercover officer, when challenged, must tell you, indeed, whether or not they're an officer. It was a good idea back then. It stopped the spying as far as infiltration was concerned. Now, I am concerned about their concerns. I have not been on Skid Row for quite some time, but I'm going to go back and try to hope I can lend some assistance and bring some action about the kind of treatment that Skid Row occupants are receiving. As I said, have an evening meeting. Have you all come down and speak to them and hear their concerns.
Baez Soto.
Hi, I'm Bella DeSoto. I can often be seen at the LAUSD board speaking out against injustices with our schools, teacher jails. Who needs the prison industrial complex when the LAUSD is initiating removing teachers from their classrooms and placing them in so-called robber rooms? Our schools are facing enormous attacks. Our communities have no money to make purchases. Our economic resources have reached a low level, so low, that things are supposed to get worse. I am a socialist. I do not vote for the Democratic or Republican parties because they constitute a political dictatorship in the United States. I am registered instead with the Peace and Freedom Party, which is a socialist platform where people come first, not production. Now, I want you to lay off our schools. The high presence of police in our schools, our kids are so frightened. So what do? They don't go to school. And those that do are being mishandled by the police, placing them in a position very difficult for their parents and their futures because they're being ticketed and lined up for the prison industrial complex. So what is going on there? Our economic resources are very low. Our people are suffering. Should the police department be trained to be psychologists instead of enforcement of abuse? Because we're entering a very different paradigm, aren't we? Either we bring down this empire, the natives are getting very impatient, but guess what? It doesn't matter how much more money you spend for police. We will always overwhelm the numbers if things are not done right. Thank you.
Kai Sumi.
A town hall meeting should be organized by the community, not the police. All I heard by the police here is a positive aspect of the LAPD as if they were the ones that reduced crime. There's probably, I have read, I can't remember exactly, but there are other reasons why crimes go down. And the police never talk about their negative aspects, what they do wrong, like racial profiling, like Safer City Initiative program, like criminalizing the poor. When do they go after big money, white-collar criminals? I never hear anything about that. It's always the poor you're after. In an officer-involved shooting, there should be a public forum in the vicinity of the slain instead of a secret investigation at the police station or by the police commission. I want to hear the victim or the family's viewpoint, not just the police viewpoint. It's totally one-sided. It's like the fox guarding the hen house.
Gina Fields.
Hi, I'm Gina Fields, and I'm with the McClung Bronson Block Club in Leimert Park. And first, I'd like to take a minute to commend Lead Officer Sasajima, who's been extremely helpful with all the block clubs in the area, and in particular with our block club. So I'd really like to thank him for that. Additionally, I'd like to know what is being done and what can be done to assist the homeless. I live in Leimert Park, and we have homeless living behind our houses, homeless living in front of the businesses, homeless living on park benches. The number of homeless in the area has increased significantly over the last 10 years that I've lived in the neighborhood. I've grown up in the neighborhood, lived somewhere else, moved back, but in the last 10 years the number has increased significantly. The Crenshaw exit at the 10 freeway, there's a full homeless encampment there, and people are basically going to the bathroom in buckets in the area. There's couches, people are living there. I have complete empathy for the homeless, but I want to know that maybe there's a better way that they can live. Maybe there's something more that the police and all of us as a community can be doing to assist so that people don't have to live this way, so that people don't have to go to the bathroom in buckets next to a freeway. And it's just become a public safety issue. It's become a health issue. And I'm hoping that the police department in the future will look into what can be done to assist people. And we as a community are willing to help. But I think we need to brainstorm and come up with some solutions of what we can do to help. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Grace Alvarez.
Hello, my name is Grace Alvarez, and I'm here. I wasn't notified about this meeting. I am a community member, so I just want to know for the future, how will we go about to inform of the community of this meeting? Some of my neighbors are here because I got them at the last minute. I just so happened to pass by around 6:10, and I saw a bunch of police officers. And I asked, what's going on? And they said, well, there's a community meeting, so I try to get as many neighbors as I could, but I think for the future, you do want the community to be involved. It would be good to notify us ahead of time. Thank you.
The next 6 speakers, Richard Eastman, Bill Ladd, Brandy Tillman, Poonam Goel, and Ricky Quinones.
The timer, okay, here we go. Distinguished Police Commission, citizens of Los Angeles, I'm Richard Eastman. I moved to LA in 1976, and that's when gay men couldn't dance together in bars because we had to have a light go off because the LAPD arrested us. They didn't want us to have a parade on Hollywood Boulevard, and somehow I got in the movie industry and saved the Hollywood sign and ran for city council a couple of times, and then almost died from AIDS. And in 1995, I opened the first cannabis buyers club in LA, in West Hollywood. And then there was more than 1,000, more than Starbucks. And we still have police harassing the occupiers for chalking on the street, but they let us smoke pot. And I want to thank the chief for allowing us to do that, because when we were occupying City Hall, Melissa Ballin and I went to see him, and we said, I'm giving away 4 pounds of marijuana and 2,000 spaghetti dinners, and he didn't say yes or no, but you didn't know about it, but we did it. And I stood up to the federal government, and we have 20 states, and I've lived in Los Angeles once again from 1976. I almost died in the 90s. Now I'm outliving my young friends. I've outlived a friend that was murdered because he was an immigrant, and the police cold cased it, and they never investigated it. And I've lived through friends dropping like flies from cancer and AIDS, and I've been in the room with a couple of presidents, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, and I'm dealing with the DEA and the war on drugs, and the police department arresting my friends, the occupiers, for chalking on the sidewalk. Can't we get along? Like Rodney King said, that happened on my birthday. Yesterday was my birthday, police chief and commission. I turned 60 years old. And I've lived in Los Angeles for 37 years. And they say I only got 2 votes in the last election because they had 21 days to shred them. But I don't have the thousands of dollars. And Melissa Ballin, she only got a few votes, and Juan got a few votes. But I'm not giving up, and marijuana will be rescheduled, and we will have a new mayor named Garcetti, who said he would stand up to the federal government and ask for marijuana to be rescheduled. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Excuse me, the next speaker is Melissa Balin.
Thank you. Today I'm filming you and filming everyone as usual. Some of you know me as former Police Officer of the Year Award for Court TV producer. And some of you know me as an occupier and being on the cover of the LA Times for notifying everyone that we, the people of California, do not yield our sovereignty to the agencies that serve us. I would like to see the crime rates reduced, not because of falsified police reports, but because of heroic actions. And because the time is limited, I would like to say that today I was in small claims court because of suppression of evidence, and because the city says that Chief Beck doesn't know me, but we had the pleasure of wishing the city a happy National Lemon Juice Day in August, as well as taking a photo with Richard Eastman. the week of November 2011. So I would like to refute these claims from the city that say that compelling Chief Beck to testify in today's proceedings would distract and remove him from primary duties, all to the detriment of public safety. I would like to state that our public safety is very important, and my personal public safety is important as well. I would like your help in discovery for my case with regards to internal affairs, case number 12-003316, that Chief Beck has unfortunately paid no attention to for more than a year and a half. And I would also like to respectfully request that you consider this a writ of quo warranto to address your flagrant violations of the Constitution. And I hereby request on behalf of everyone that if you do not rectify your failure to appear today, you will be under citizen's arrest from yours truly, and don't take it personally.
Thank you.
Bill Ladd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Ladd, representing the Nosy Eye Block Club. That's what we're called, the Nosy Eye. We are on 29th Place between Western and St. Andrews, and the only reason I'm speaking here is because all the other women were at other meetings across school boards, so guess who gets the short end of the stick. We have noticed a significant rise in prostitution on the block. I mean, and now it's going to like early evening, from, late night evening is one thing, but early evening, like 7, 8, 9 o'clock. And as we're running into the end of the school year, the parents, and I'm one of them, although my little baby is 25 and gone, are very concerned that this kind of activity is going to be going on, and we are working with, of course, our wonderful lead officer, Officer Biondo, and of course, lead officer Fort, who is, pinching in for Tracy Howder, who we love, and so we're really concerned about that, and that's my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Brandy Tillman.
Hi, excuse my persona, I just came from the gym, but I felt it was important for me to be here today. I am a real estate agent in the Baldwin Village area. I also work for Jones & Jones, which is a huge area throughout the Baldwin Village area. And I'm basically here to say thank you for Charlie Beck, for the Chief of Police, and also Officer Sedana, and also Senior Lead Thompson, who also assisted us in the past. We appreciate it. We know your jobs are challenging. We understand you guys go through a lot. It's a lot of politics involved, and you guys endure a lot. Being a daughter of a retired DA and also a LA County Sheriff, I understand. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it, and we just want the continued support from you guys when we call you guys out. And we have a trespass form that we just initiated. We want assistance with that. We just thank you for the continued support, Officer Sedana, for the help, as well as Senior Lead Thompson for the prior help. We thank you.
Thank you.
Poonam Guhel.
Good evening. My name is Poonam Goyal. I chair the Quality of Life Committee. Our goal is to protect, promote quality of life in our community through education and information. How do we collect information in education? I invite whatever the problem we have, like for example, we had a problem with the property. We invited the LAHD head. They came down and answered our questions. We collect those informations and give it to the society, our community, to educate them. Even today, I invited Chief Bach to come down to my committee. I don't know his will, but I never had a problem inviting everybody else. And we should have this kind of quality of life committee throughout CPABs. And this is a way we can enhance, educate, and promote our quality of life in committee and solve our problems. I wrote a small paper called Fundamental Solving Problems. And there was a very 6 steps. Check the problem, recheck the problem, because when you re-inspect the problem, it's not the same problem that you first time you thought it is. Then isolate that problem, and then take the ownership of the problem. That is very important because once you take ownership of the problem, you stop pointing finger with anybody else. It's your problem, your responsibility, and you have to find the solution. Then examine the policy. Rather than finding a solution, main important is to really check the problem. Spend more time on identifying a problem than solution, because there are answer to everybody is predefined. You have to learn to answer a question to find the solutions. And after that, you imply the solution to the problem, and we can fix it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And the final speaker is Ricky Quinones.
Hi, how are you, everybody? Ricky Quinones. I'm just here to thank the Southwest Division for cleaning up 35th Place, West 35th Place in South Los Angeles. There were numerous problems, and I guess what happened was the detectives put pressure on the property manager there were a couple of residents who were creating problems. Sorry?
I think you need to speak more closely into the mic.
Sorry. There were a couple of residents inside the building creating problems. They were pretty much the only problems on the block. And I was having problems with the residents myself, of course, because I was living there. I'm still living there. We've been living in the area for a year, me and my girlfriend, and we will continue to live there until we decide to move. And I will continue working with the Southwest Division regarding, I guess, whatever, yeah. But thanks again. All right, I just wanted to thank the Southwest Division. Give them a hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
That is the last speaker. Madam President.
Okay. Well, that brings to a close the formal portion of our meeting. I know there's still coffee and water and maybe even some cookies in the back, and look forward to talking to you more informally. And I will ask if there's a motion.
Move we adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
A lo largo y a lo ancho de esta gran ciudad, hombres y mujeres de cualquier procedencia y ocupación se reúnen trabajando como voluntarios para ayudar a los ciudadanos de Los Ángeles. Son los trabajadores electorales. Asisten a los votantes el día de la elección distribuyendo boletas, respondiendo preguntas y abriendo y cerrando las casillas electorales. Ellos no lo hacen por dinero. No. Solo para ayudar a los demás. Forme parte de un equipo selecto. Trabajadores electorales, los próximos héroes americanos.
I'm Jeff. This is JD from Sun Valley. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. That awesome?